It's not hard to see that in the US, tensions are rising. People of different political ideologies and viewpoints are fighting. You may have even lost friends due to where you stand on certain issues. And if things are left as they are, the situation turns into a breeding ground for violence in the future. So, to combat this, I propose that we first stop, understand one another, even if you really disagree with them, and start a conversation. On August 11th, 2017, in Charlottesville, Virginia, according to Gary LaFree in an article he wrote for Society, white nationalists and counter-protesters clashed. People of all sorts of political ideologies and motivations started fighting. Things got very violent. And despite everyone's minds already being made up, despite all the shouting, no one actually was actually talking to one another. There was no real conversation. So how do we get people who are so diametrically opposed to each other to actually reconcile their differences? Well, let me bring up another example of someone who might not agree with you. In the US, we eat lots of beef. Did you know in India that there are groups of people who will kill you for having cow meat? Now, this might seem extreme and alien, but according to Payal Chandwar's study of certain religions, Buddhists and Hindus, major religions in India, they believe in something called reincarnation, which means that their relatives might have become that cow, or that cow might become one of their relatives. So basically, the cow is on the same weight as grandma. If you eat that cow, you're pretty much eating grandma. Now, I don't want to eat any of my relatives, so I can understand that. And knowing that fundamental part of their culture will allow me to have a further conversation with them. Now, I don't want you to just take my word for it. I want to point to someone called Daryl Davis. He's a master of using this principle to get people who might hate him at first to become his friend later on. Daryl Davis is a black man who likes to attend KKK rallies. So that might seem strange and dangerous, but it's worked out very well for him. Let me give you an example of a conversation he might have had, or he has had, excuse me. The conversation started out with a Klan member asserting that all black people have a latent gene that will cause them to become violent later in life. Now, Daryl, knowing that one of the fundamentals for this Klan member is that he believes that white people are superior, colored people are inferior, and they will do anything, regardless of if it's backed by research or not, to believe that about themselves. So he turned the assertion around on him. Well, sir, all white people have a gene in them that turns them into serial killers, and he gave off some names of actual white serial killers, such as Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, Charles Manson, John Wayne Gacy. Horrible people. Immediately, the man got defensive. Say, I'm not going to become a serial killer, and saw how ridiculous his assertion was to just generalize an entire group of people like that. These sorts of conversations went on for 6 months. Relationships were strengthened, and afterwards he gave up his Klan robe and his Klan membership. Which is amazing. In an interview with Dwayne Brown on Weekend All Things Considered, Daryl boasted over 200 Klan members quit being part of the KKK after speaking with him, many of which gave him their uniforms, which he likes to show off. He became such good friends with a clan member who's named Roger Kelly that Daryl became the godfather of that man's daughter. That is trust right there. And it just goes to show you that even the most bitter of enemies can become friends as long as you take the effort to understand them. And to wrap things up, I want to ask that you look at the last page of the handout. It's a picture of my family. On the left, there is me and my sister, but the woman on the far left, that's my mother. She's from the Philippines. To the right of her is my dad, the blonde one with the glasses. He's a Texan. They started out on opposite sides of the world. Their entire families couldn't be more different. Despite all that, they still work together to understand one another. And it doesn't matter that they're different as can be, and believe you me, I'm an authority on that. I have to attend both family reunions. But they work through all that, and they're able to love one another. Thank you.